Coming up tonight on Our News, on the defense, the health minister hits back at criticism of government's response to that Exuma boat tragedy. And poor credit, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce is issuing a warning to businesses over credit card policy. Plus, one Bahamian fashion brand continues an independence tradition.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands is labeling PLP leader Philip Brave Davis's comments concerning the government's response to the Exuma boat tragedy as unfortunate. Sands says the fatal accident was a sensitive issue and should be treated as such. Jasmine Brown tells us more.
This is a very, very sensitive issue. It has implications in terms of tourism, in terms of national security, in terms of health, the economy, and so on.
During his monthly press briefing held at PLP headquarters on Tuesday, Davis asserted that the government has not done enough in damage control to prevent fallout on the heels of last week's tragic incident in Exuma. The opposition leader said he was concerned that the Minister administration has been near silent on the boating accident in Exuma waters last Saturday.
I think what we have to do is to be very mindful of the impact of unfortunate comments on any aspect of those areas that I just mentioned. And so I think it's important for us to be deliberate and circumspect in our comments.
10 American passengers and 2 Bahamian crew were heading out for a half-day tour of the Exuma Keys when the boat exploded, killing 1 woman, Malika Jackson of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and injuring 10 others. Sands acknowledged the fact that the accident has been covered by numerous American news outlets, including CBS News, USA Today, News Channel 9, ABC News, and NBC's Today Show.
A comment directed at a particular audience, certainly in 2018, can be heard and seen and distributed around the world. I think a word to the wise is sufficient. As we discuss this tragedy of the weekend, to understand that our comments are not only heard at home.
Authorities are investigating the cause of that explosion. In the meantime, the boating company 4C's operations have been suspended. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation CEO Edison Sumner says merchants who require customers to make a minimum purchase in order for them to use their credit or debit cards are out of order. Sumner says the issue was brought to the Chamber of Commerce's attention by the Clearing Banks Association.
Based on the agreements that we've seen under the standard merchant agreement, merchants are not allowed or should not be allowed to charge an extra percentage on the purchases made by consumers, and they should not be requiring the consumers to make a minimum purchase for them to use their credit cards at that facility. If they're doing it, then it means that it's their own policy to do so. But if that is their policy, then that policy is ultra vires the agreement that they would have signed with their banks to use their credit card facility.
Sumner also mentioned that some merchants are charging consumers to use their debit or credit cards. He says that should not be the case.
We advise the business community that based on the information provided to us, that they are not supposed to be charging the additional rate for the use of credit cards or debit cards at the establishments. We've had that discussion. We've put the information out into the business community to advise them of what was raised to us as a concern. And we want to just remind the business community to be cognizant of what's happening, to have this discussion with their banks and their merchant service providers to be sure that, that they're not imposing a cost on their customers that could otherwise be avoided.
With local government plan to be implemented in New Providence by 2020, a renewed focus has been placed on what shape the initiative will take. Former parliamentarian Alfred Sayers, QC, says the model is still in the colonial era and local authorities need to be empowered.
We have a system of local government which is not sufficiently empowered to enable local communities to solve their own problems. Like most of the Commonwealth, local government authorities can generate tax revenue. A significant portion of the tax revenue go to local authorities. In the Bahamas, we still have maintained a colonial model where everything is concentrated in Nassau.
Sayre says family islanders get the short end of the stick, contributing far more in taxes than what they receive in services.
We also have a situation where we treat the family islands unfairly because they generate taxes as well. But when you look at Exuma, when you look at Eleuthera, when you look at Abaco, Grand Bahama, the amount of taxes these family islands generate compared to the small allocations made to them through their local government subvention, it is inequitable.
The tradition of rake and scrape has been passed down from generation to generation, but the genre is in danger of dying out, according to artist Diana Hamilton. Christina Dragovich tells us more.
The music in our country is dying, and there's a saying that says that when a country loses its music, then that means that that empire is about to become extinct. It's doomed to die.
Diana Hamilton is an artist in her own right, fighting to preserve the tradition of Bahamian rake and scrape and the sweet melodies of the accordion. In 2013, Hamilton founded the Cat Island Accordion and French Project, helping to shape a new generation of accordionists with the help of Cat Island musician Frank Williams.
Showed great alarm at the disappearance of the accordion. The accordion was actually played everywhere, I'm learning, in the Bahamas. And today it is still alive on Cat Island, and so it seemed to be the natural place to create this camp.
Hamilton says music is how our ancestors survived and how communities bloomed. Now she brings experts in to teach the lost art of accordions to Bahamian children.
Children never played the instrument in the Bahamas, I think because of the cost, because it was fragile, and because it was a world where people danced. And so children basically were hidden and looking on. And so just to tell you that we need to remember that this tradition was passed on because little boys could sit there and watch and sneak that instrument and figure out what it was they heard and saw, and that's how it was passed on. I bring in maestros, French-speaking maestros, who come to Cat Island. And they teach these children exclusively in French how to play the accordion. And it works. It's the miracle that is life, but it's been working and they're playing really well.
The camp was the recent recipient of a grant from the Cable Bahamas Cares Foundation, which focuses on youth-oriented community and educational programs. Hamilton says the camp has attracted children from New Providence, including 2 boys from the Kemp Road area. She says now she's limited by the number of accordions available for the camp. Now, the second phase of the camp will allow 2 promising students the opportunity to study in France for 1 full month per year.
The next phase is to take 2 young children, 2 youngsters to France, where they will begin to learn to manufacture and repair the instrument. So, so what it is little by little installing it in our country so that it becomes a permanent feature.
Hamilton says she hopes the students will come home and pass down the skills to keep rake and scrape going for generations to come. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
When Our News returns, find out how a group of teenagers are giving back to the community. You don't want to miss it.